You good to go? All right. Do I need a cue, Ardeen? Okay, go ahead. I was told to go ahead. Okay, so I'm going ahead. Hi, I'm Nicole Duke-Westfield, and I'm here with, well, they're younger than me, so I guess I have to say 3 young people. Thanks, Franca. And I think I was thinking we got the hardest question.
Yeah.
I was told that there are some tougher ones to come, but I feel as if this is the harder question. But let me introduce this interesting panel. So on the far left of me is Elize Rostant.
Yes.
And Elize, say a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
No problem. So I work in the creative and cultural industries. Most of my time is spent on something called New Fire Festival, which is a transformational festival, and we celebrated our 4th edition this year, going into our 5th edition in 2020.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. And right next to me is, help me pronounce your name. Is it
Jaffar?
Jaffar? I want to say
that's
Jaffar,
that's
as
perfect.
as in the
Yeah,
movie.
that's exactly how it
Okay,
is.
Jaffar. I go in with Jaffar. Jaffar Howe.
How, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us. Although you shouldn't really be introducing yourself, and I think everybody should know you by now. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, my name is Jaffar Howe, a 19-year-old graduate of St. Mary's College, born and raised in Laventille, and recently accepted to Princeton University. I feel like that explains itself.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And we'll hear a little more about the experiences that you've had recently that you were sharing with us. And on my right is Jesse. Jesse, I didn't get your last name.
Dean Smith.
Jesse Dean Smith. So tell us, Jesse Dean
I
Smith.
am a graduate of Queen's Royal College, actually. So
Listen. This school thing.
Yeah.
I'm also 19 years old, and I'm going to the University of Sussex in September to study international development and economics.
Excellent.
Nice. Very. Nobody don't go UE again, no?
Yeah, people do.
Okay.
People do.
Because I went there. And I went to St. George's College, by the way.
Right.
Since
That's a
we're
big
on the
one too,
question
yeah.
of schools.
Oh, but that's a big one too.
Yeah. Probably when you all will babies, but that's
Yeah.
okay. Our question: what would you be willing to give up to make Trinidad and Tobago a better place?
Wow.
And I've been thinking about the question ever since Franca and Dean spoke to me about it, and racking my brain, different things. Ice cream. Would I give up ice cream to make Trinidad and Tobago a better place? So you went from the sublime to the ridiculous. And what struck me as well inside of the question was, and I think Elize, when we were talking outside a little while ago, you alluded to it. What have we already given up as a society, as a country, on this journey to become better? And maybe we could launch in with some of your thoughts on the matter.
Well, in my work, a lot of what we do, we think is pioneering. A lot of it has not been done in this way before.
Yeah.
When we look at events, when we look at the impact we have on the environment by doing events. So our festival has a strict zero waste policy where we're really trying to educate people and increase awareness about the impact we as human beings have on the environment through what we do on a day-to-day basis. And what we found in trying to get support for the work that we did or do is, the general lack of wanting to take a risk, and where that comes from.
Yeah.
So the fact that we really hold on to comfort and stability, and we want that security, and nothing is wrong with that. You have expectations for life. But where has that gotten us, and where will that continue to lead us in the context that we find ourselves in right now?
Yeah.
So, as a young-ish person, my birthday is tomorrow and approaching mid-30s.
Mine is Monday. Sorry.
But, that real question of access to resources, and if we are to make a better TNT, how equitable that access is, and what we're doing with the resources now, how are we managing things, and what agendas are at play.
I hear you, because it's, there's some things that we just take for granted.
Absolutely.
So where I live, and it's probably, it's probably different in other communities, garbage is picked up 3 times a week. And we don't, yes, Jaffar.
Yeah.
See the eyebrow going up.
Exactly. It's a different reality, even
So
in
there's
this
a
very
different
small space.
And you don't think about it, you just know it's happening. It's, and there is no if you miss a day, if a day is missed, let's say, or it's a public holiday
Yeah.
or something,
Right.
you're like, well, what is really going on? Why I have all these bags in my
Exactly.
house?
Yeah.
Certain assumptions that we carry with our, we carry with ourselves. Jesse.
Yes. Well, I understand the mentality of not knowing what we have, though, because in school, I remember in Form 2, this child transferred in from Jamaica. So he was very strict with his schoolwork, always speaking to teachers, and that used to get me upset because I just used to hate people who used to stick up to teachers all the time. So eventually, after year 2, I tripped off on him. I was like, "Why are you the way you are? Like, why do you keep on doing all the stuff that you do?" And he told me, "Jesse, in Jamaica we don't have this," and that just struck me there. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have access to free education, free healthcare, free public transport, and a lot of us don't know that that's a privilege to have. And I think that through that, we don't have an appreciation for what we have, and we don't have it until it's directly taken away from us. So I think, to build off of your point, I think, well, I've given it up already. I would give up my comfort in terms of how much I procrastinate on certain things. I would give up spending $24 on gas. I'll spend 30 because that's what the country needs to move forward. I think we need to, I think an excellent example of it is the way they shifted the way that GATE is set up. Because initially, GATE was
Yep.
free tertiary education for everybody.
Yeah.
And people were so privileged to have that. They don't appreciate that at all. They're just like, yeah, I'll go to UE for free, whatever. And it's people that can afford to go to international universities just going to UE. And I think that we had to give up that comfort of just being able to, in that if you have something and you can pay for something, you should pay for it. I think that the way that GATE is structured now is an excellent example of how things should be given up by Trinidadians, because of the fact that I think that, as I told you outside, I think a little people are giving up a lot. Like, a little people are giving up, like, certain aspects of their livelihoods
Small
just
group
to,
of people.
yeah, just to
Yeah.
push things forward.
Yeah.
And those people would then feel disenfranchised. It's like, why am I giving up so much and so many members of my country aren't giving anything else? So I think that as Trinidadians, we all collectively have to give up the sense of comfort, the sense of privilege, and the sense of entitlement that we may have because of what we have been given over time.
Would you be willing, any of you, be willing to give up your car, per se? Let's see.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
And take public transportation every single day.
Yes, that's not a
You
question.
do, you do that all the time.
I walk everywhere.
I work everywhere too, so that's not a problem for me
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would, I mean, if we, if we had to.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jaffar.
Oh, well, I mean, I was in that aspect. It came to mind stuff like carpooling, right? On my street, because I live in Laventille, growing up over the years, I have seen the increase in cars on the street. It grew exponentially. First you had one car, then you had 5 cars, and now you
These
have
are people who
20
live on the
cars
street now, Pa.
on the
Right.
street,
Mhm.
you know, and I think sometimes I'm walking, because I walk home, as I said, I walk everywhere, I don't have a car, but there are more cars than houses.
Mm. What do you mean there are more cars than houses?
Okay, so
So multiple cars. per
exactly, that's my
residence.
point.
Okay,
So you know,
okay.
we have one house with maybe 2 cars,
Right.
one house with maybe 3 cars,
Yeah.
right? But do we need that? Right? It's a luxury that we want.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about the disadvantages that it brings, okay, for one, traffic, right?
Yeah.
We have so much traffic, and as I walk everywhere, I will walk through town, and I look into the cars, and I will see one person in this car, one person in
Mhm.
this car.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then you might get 2 people in this car, but all the other
Yeah.
space in the
We
car.
don't. We as a country we don't. I think
Yeah.
carpooling was attempted. There was a. I don't call it a national, but there was some attempt. There was some
Yeah.
national conversation about it, and I think even the changes that were made in terms of the use of the bus route
Yeah, I remember that.
was in an attempt to force people to utilize multiple users in a car, but generally I mean I live in Diamond Vale, and I could tell you 6:30 in the morning, the exodus of
Yeah.
cars
Yeah.
out of the community, and you're right, 1 and 2 people.
Yeah.
You and your child, you're dropping your child to school, and that's it.
True.
You know?
True.
Is that something that we would we would consider, well, some of us would consider
Well, I think
giving
that
up.
there are things that people would consider giving up, but they don't want to trade that for convenience, for lack
Right.
of convenience. So if the public transportation system worked, if you knew when a bus was going to come and one came every 15 minutes, and, I think
Right.
that a lot of people would prefer to take that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do, because, again, access to resources, etc. But people don't want to give up the convenience of, okay, if I'm not driving, and I don't know when I'll get a taxi or rain is falling. So there are a lot of things that have to happen concurrently
And safety
for
too.
the overall system to
Yeah.
work better.
Right.
If
Yeah.
we felt that we lived in a safe society,
True.
Yeah.
because when you go to Princeton town and you go to Sussex town, you ain't buying no car.
Nah.
Exactly.
Nah.
Exactly.
Hopping on the bus.
Yeah.
I've walked streets in those towns
know,
at 3 a.m.
And
Yeah, me
trains
too.
and
You leave the
subways,
library
yeah.
at whatever time in the night and you head into the dorm or the apartment or wherever you're staying with family or whatever.
True.
Yeah.
You're not going to be worried about the gunshots that you heard earlier today. Yeah?
Yeah.
So sometimes if we lived in a, but to get there,
We need to give up stuff to get there.
what
Yeah.
do we do to get there?
So when I first heard the question, right, I was kind of confused. I was racking my brain. As I said, I think it's one of the more difficult questions for the day. What can you give up to save Trinidad? So I thought about it in different ways because for me, I thought, okay, so save Trinidad, how? Right?
Yeah.
In what aspect we want to
Exactly.
save Trinidad? Is it the culture? Is it the economy? Right? We're trying to save the government, the education system, the health system, something like that. Right? And not just that, the first thing that came to mind, it struck me. Are we willing to give up our culture to save Trinidad?
Like carnival?
Well, no, carnival is not the only part of what makes up
Exactly,
what that,
exactly.
I know,
that
I
makes
know.
up
Yeah,
Trinidadian
I know.
culture. We have
People who know me know. Treading on some
But-
uncomfortable ground. here.
no,
And
yeah,
that's the
Go ahead.
thing.
No,
That's
exactly,
it, yeah.
exactly. We're so comfortable with this culture that we have right now, and I think that there are aspects of it that, if we were willing to give up, would promote development, right, in Trinidad and Tobago. Like, okay, a simple culture. We have 2 holidays coming up. Week after.
Yeah.
Following-
Right,
yeah,
good.
the week
It's
after.
a Wednesday and a
Yes.
Thursday.
Uh-huh.
There's a Friday,
Uh-huh.
which is not a holiday, and then there's a long weekend. How many
Right.
people are willing to work on that Friday without giving up, without saying, I'll call in sick or something like that, right? And it's something that people will say, no, well, that's a small thing, but it does add up.
Yes.
Imagine a country could shut down for
4 days.
yeah,
5 days.
5 days.
Thank you, Mom.
After,
Yeah.
5 days.
after 2
Well, it
previous
depends,
weeks of
huh?
holidays.
It depends.
You know?
If you pull the 7 o'clock shift Friday morning and 9 o'clock shift Friday
Right.
morning in KFC,
Yeah,
you're
True.
gonna be there.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
So, but I hear you. I think you do have aspects. As you raise the question of culture,
Yeah.
are there things within our broad culture and in terms of behavior
Yes.
as
You're
well
right.
as festivals,
Traditions,
as well as
values,
traditions?
norms.
Are there things that we just roll along doing? Is so? It was
Yeah.
always so.
Well, I was going to say that, culture for me is the way that we live,
Right.
and
Right.
a lot of the work that I do is about behavior change. How do you really get people to connect the dots and understand something in theory, but then make that a practice, make that a habit from day to
Right.
day? And in terms of that risk aversion, I see that daily where people don't want to try something different, try something new, because again, the comfort is there in how they've lived their lives and what is expected and how we've been socialized.
Yeah.
So we look at mental health, for example. Our culture is that we have a lot of entertainment. People go to shows, people go online, and that's how we tend to blow off steam. Nothing is wrong with that. But we found that there are a lot of things that we don't like to talk about. It's still taboo. We don't like to dig deep. It's coming to the light now. But, you have healthier ways of really relieving that
Relieving the
stress.
stress.
Yoga, meditation that have been proven to really bring about positivity to your life, positivity to, just the way that you handle things that increase resilience. And At the festival, we see a lot of people wanting to try these things, but there's a fear, there's a nervousness. A lot of people won't even come to the event on their own. They want friends to come with them.
Yeah, want me to come in the bush for 3
Yeah,
days?
exactly. And the thing is that, if we don't get over, and that's just a very small example, you have things on the macro level as well in terms of how we deal with policy, how we deal with, changing legislation, things that are on the books that have been there for 60 plus years that need to be changed. And why, and we need to get to the root of this not wanting to try different things and expecting a similar result. And, that's the definition of insanity. So how are we really going to move forward?
Yeah.
How are we going to diversify? How are we going to really look at the question of sustainable development if we're not willing to try risky things, try things that are
and explore.
different, that go against the grain of what culturally is the norm, shake up the status quo, and see how we can develop in different ways.
Sure.
Are we too democratic a society?
I think
Yeah.
I think it's not a question of how being too democratic or being too little democratic. I think it's what our democracy is made of and how we view our democracy. Because a simple thing, imagine I could be in the car with one of my parents and they can tell me something so simple. Just see, from the start of independence, it's always been PNM and the other party. And there's the certain understanding amongst everybody, from the oldest person to a youth, that there are two parties in Trinidad. And that's how we view it. And those parties, I hate to say it, but sometimes fuel race politics. And those would fuel the issues that we have here. So I think it's more how I think we can be a very democratic nation, but I think we're democratic in a bad way. I think people would not vote for a certain party based, some people vote for a certain party based on the color of their skin, plain talk bad manners. Growing up, you're growing up in a household, you're saying, this party has supported us all the time, so we're going to vote for them. But I think if we were democratic in such a way that we had a wider scope in terms of this party is proven to help us, or looks like, for example, if there's a third party that comes about, one, how many of us would find out enough about them or have access to know enough about them? And then two, how many of us would actually go and vote for them to empower them to make a change? Because I think we have a generally good voter turnout, but I think we're not educated and we don't have a solid appreciation for the intelligence that we have coming up in the country. And the same thing, we're stuck in this norm. It's always been PNM and the other party, so we're always just going to view it as two parties in Trinidad, and that's what we're accustomed to.
We have had, we've always had, you're right, so we've had a sort of a two-party system.
Yes.
But every so often, there is an emergence of another force. So, I guess in the most recent incarnation, it's the MSJ, the COP. We've always had NJAP. Well, not, I shouldn't say always, but it's been. So we have had groups. They've formed coalitions. They've broken apart. They've come together. The political landscape is, I guess, it is to some extent a quagmire. And then on the question of voter turnout, I'm not sure that we necessarily have a high voter turnout.
Where's the information?
In terms of
That's
the
thing,
data.
Exactly.
Local government elections, the turnout is always poor, historically. So we're too democratic. Are we not democratic enough? Do we understand our democracy? Because some of the things that we've been discussing is to give up certain things may suggest to people that you're almost giving up your democracy. You're giving up your rights. I know somebody, a friend of mine very close to me. He's always held the position. 15 years of dictatorship. That's what Trinidad needs. 15 years of a benevolent dictator to shake things up, turn it out, inside out, whatever, and then.
I think it's sad that I agree with that, but I agree with that because look at Vision 2020 on paper. Whether or not it was properly executed, we can discuss that, but look at it on paper. Look at all of the great things that we could have gotten from that. That government plaza we got from that, right? Now, Patrick Manning, coming down to the end, of course, he changed as a person, and that would have obviously stemmed his downfall. But when the People's Partnership got into power, did they seek to complete Vision 20? Did they? No, they did not, because that's what he did. so we don't care about it. They
Move on.
close the
Yeah.
book on it.
5 years
Yeah.
time.
And
Exactly.
I think that people say we need one more party. I think we need two more. I think we need two more parties to come in, and one to be the opposition and one to be in the government, because it's sad that literally, I'm sure they could go to Parliament and say, okay, we have a bill that's going to end all poverty in Trinidad. I'm sure the opposition is going to vote against it. And it's sad that as a child who's educated on politics can say this, but it's so ridiculous that these people are so petty with our lives.
Yeah.
And I think, you said it's a question of how democratic we are. I think it's a question of how patriotic we are. I think it's a question of how much of us are willing to give up something because we believe that Trinidad can move forward.
Right.
We believe that Trinidad can come together to be this great state that it has the elements of. Our culture is so unique and so diverse, and it obviously has its faults, as do all cultures. But I think that we are not willing to act on the strong culture that we have because we're too comfortable in the little, I'm not going to go to work on Friday because I have Wednesday and Thursday off. Those are the parts of our culture that show more. I think if the parts of our culture that shows that we're very simple thing, the part of our culture that this room is very diverse, that part of our culture. If it is that we can act on that part of our culture, the astronomical things, race politics wouldn't be a thing if that was the biggest part of our culture.
True.
And I think it's
Yeah.
what parts of our culture
Yeah.
we're willing to really push forward, and how patriotic we can be in terms of believing that Trinidad is something worth fighting for. And that's why I think we need a benevolent leader. Because Trinidadians don't know what they want. You'll give Trinidadians,
That's human nature.
you'll give Trinidadians a
I like that.
BMW.
Trinidadians don't know what they want.
And then they will find one bad thing in that BMW and say, I want a B14. And when you give them the B14, they'll say, why you give me a B14 for? And it's so annoying that that's some of the nature of a lot of our people.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a question of patriotism that really needs to believe in that Trinidad is worth
What do you
something
think
fighting
about that?
for.
What do you
Well,
think about
I
that,
must
Jaffar?
commend
Patriotism.
him. I must commend him on saying the things that a lot of people are not willing to say.
Exactly. Not
You
brave
know.
enough to say in
True.
public, especially.
Exactly. Exactly. For me, what I believe is to say the 15 years of dictatorship is
Benevolent.
benevolent. All
he's
right,
a nice
good.
person.
Fair.
He's
All
a
right,
nice
good, good,
person.
good. Well, in that case, I could understand it. I could understand it. But for me, I think it's simple, right? We just need the legislation in place to secure the actions of the party that was in power at that point in time. It shouldn't be so easy, right, for one party to start
To
a
walk
project,
away.
and then when they switch, the next party could easily come and say, you know what, no,
From the ground
our
zero.
name not on that,
Yeah.
let's stop.
Yeah.
It should not be that easy. Why is it so easy? And my problem is that we know this, but no one wants to take action to fix this problem. Everyone has something to say on what is the problems going on, right?
Nobody
And
wants
what
to
we
say
need
what
to
are the
fix and what we should
solutions?
give up,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
to save Trinidad and Tobago. But if we know we should give it up, why are we not giving it up? Right? Why are we not giving it up? And I am a man of action, right? So when people sit, we have all these discussions. We look at the parliament station, they discuss, they talk, they go through the bills, and then we start over, and we go again, and again, and people are fed up,
a
especially
cycle.
young
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
right? And for me, I have seen a lack of interest in politics by the youth. And to be honest, I cannot blame them.
Yeah.
There's a level of cynicism, right? Of hopelessness as to, okay, I vote for this party, nothing going to change. I vote for this party, nothing going to change. So
I'm not
what I'm
gonna
voting
vote.
for?
Yeah.
What I'm voting for,
So you're giving up your vote, in a sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And I think,
But not to make
Yeah.
things better.
And that's a climate that race politics thrives in. Or
exactly.
that's a climate that the die-hard people who will always vote for this party because of some other reason other than they're going to benefit Trinidad and Tobago thrives in. It's when people who are knowledgeable of the state of things don't decide to act.
True.
Because we can have this conversation here, and we need to now go, and it's now our responsibility to take things back to Trinidad. We have to go and try to find the party that's going to best serve
Yeah.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
And I think that's an excellent point that Jaffar raised, in that as a youth, that's how I felt. I used to feel like, what's being done? And I think it's key that, one, the youth have a good medium to be educated on politics,
Right.
and that I was telling Ardeen that outside is that the youth have people that they can look up to in order as an exemplary leader from the country.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, it's Eric Williams. It could be Anna Robinson for other people. I think we need somebody that we can view as that this person led Trinidad and Tobago to a great place. I want to be that person. And don't look at the parties that are here
Right.
now, but look at the greats that have been
Right.
there before.
True.
Yeah.
So, if I were to ask you, and I also ask myself, I guess, what's the one thing you would give up in the conversation?
I'm not starting. So somebody else.
You give up your position.
I'm not starting anything.
Oh, unlucky.
Ladies first.
I think we have to give up the luxury of not doing anything to enable positive change. Because something Jesse said, that idea of responsibility,
Yeah.
nobody's coming to save us.
Nope.
You know, nobody's coming to save Trinidad and Tobago or the region. We have to save ourselves. And a lot of the time, we talk about what we want TNT to look like, to be. We want to feel safe. We want to have access to things, etc. But I think we have to get a lot more specific. And then that vision has to be shared, and we have to find ways of people buying into that vision in very real ways.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
teaching things like leadership in schools, because, you know, it's how do we get there? How do you actually take these steps to get there beyond the talk and beyond the discussions? What do we do day to day? You know, I had a fantastic director. I used to work at the Ministry of Culture for 7 years. And, you know, she would always say, policy is what you do and not what is written
What
on
is
paper.
written.
So
Yeah.
you could have a lovely plan that makes all the sense in the world, but how is that being implemented on a day-to-day basis? So for me, we all have to give up that, well, I can't make a
Sure.
change, I can't do anything. That sense of responsibility has to be, you know, deep-seated in all of us, and we have to find ways of really enabling that positive change.
Guys?
Me next.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
You
You're
ready
next
now?
in line, you know?
Yeah. Whew. I thought about it, and what I would give up is how to phrase this, boy. But no, well, cultural imperialism, right? We import a lot of products. And by products, we not, I mean, obviously we import a lot of food, but we import a lot of culture, right? And that is eroding our own culture. And as much as I grew up, right, I grew up taking it all in, right? The
Right.
Western culture, you know, TV, the fast food,
Yeah. Yeah.
living a certain lifestyle, and that's what I want, you know. But when you really think about it, is it really going to benefit us in the long run if we keep taking all these things in and we're not, you know, fostering what is ours? You know, the music, right? A lot of people now, young people, don't know about our local art forms. I am a big fan of spoken word. I go every year to the finals. It was great this year. I'm a big fan of soca. I'm a big fan of calypso. A big
Modern
fan.
soca or old soca?
I listen to everything. Everything. Watch
Alright.
that David Rodosy, man. Anyway. But you know, as
There's
much
a world
as
before David Rodder,
Yeah.
do it.
oh God.
Okay.
Alright, I'm gonna name everybody fair. But as much as I am attached to that culture that we get, I am willing to give it up for the
Yeah.
betterment of Trinidad and Tobago.
Very good. You're going to be sitting down in a dorm room in Princeton, listening to spoken word.
Yeah, I just watch them videos from years back
When-
regularly.
When
You
will
know.
get stronger.
When they ask you,
Yeah.
Jaffar, what's that? You have to tell them, huh?
Hold on, right? So earlier this year I went to Abu Dhabi.
Oh.
Because a university invited me
Yeah.
there for an interview kind of thing. And I spent those 2 days at a globe, a mini globe they gave us. And every 5 minutes I say, hey, that's where I'm from, you know. It not even on the matter. The dot not even there, but I just saying it have a dot somewhere there.
Yeah.
I from there. I went on YouTube. I say, you ever hear about the pan? They say, what's the pan? I said, the pan is the only instrument created in the 20th century. What
I would have
about?
been asking you about pan.
Huh?
Asking you what is pan.
I telling them what the pan is.
Okay.
I not giving them the chance to ask me what. I show them carnival, jab, everything. This I say, it have a song. Soldier Boy sing the song. You right?
Oh,
So in the
yeah.
beginning, the song goes.
It's a pan.
Yeah,
It's a pan. So
yeah.
they know the song. So I say, you know that song? You hear that instrument right there? That's the pan, you know. And they say, what? I say, that's real cool. I say, yeah, you have to come to Trinidad. Come to Trinidad. And just the other day, one of the girls who was Ethiopian, she messaged me. She said, you think I should spend a year in Trinidad? I say, yeah, come through. Come through. It have so much to
Cultural
do. Let me go
exchange.
to the beach and eat some bacon shark. I'll show you some. We could go eat doubles and all. Pull up. It have so much.
Yeah.
Our
So
culture is so much. You know, and it's just to spread it. So when I go Princeton, just know
You're
I'm
doing
coming.
well,
I
yeah.
know I coming back with people. I say, hey, let me go take a trip to Trinidad now, boy, for this vacation. And we coming back. We coming back. I had to bring them there. This is my country, and I had to support
Very
it.
nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
I think just a bit on what Jaffar said, and I think it's sad we don't know how great our culture is until we present it to these same people who we worship their culture. Like, same thing when I went to the Global Young Leaders Conference in 2017. I talked to people from France, from Kuwait, from all over the place, and the all common goal is we want to come to Trinidad. Everything that you told us and the way you are is just wow. I think we need to know that. We need to know that the same people who are worshipping for their culture will worship us
Yeah.
for our culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I think what I'm giving to give up is my comfort. I think I'm willing to give up, that Friday holiday. I'm willing to give up paying less for something that I could afford the whole thing for. I think that's what I'm willing to give up. I'm willing to give what needs to be given. And I think that's what Trinidadians need to give in a sense. We need to give what is fully required to be given and not what we think is enough
Is enough.
or the bare minimum or what people tell us is required.
So I thought this was going to be a hard conversation, but apparently not.
Flowed.
Yeah, I think I have to take a bit from you, Elize, maybe a lot. That whole question of inertia, that whole question of complacency. That it is how it is. So we doing
What
that.
can we do?
Yeah, and it's acting.
And we all
It's-
have to do. We don't
yeah.
have a choice at this point.
Yeah.
We are at a critical point in history where, my brother, he has 3 children. They live in Montserrat now. They've lived all throughout the Caribbean. And I think about, will they want to live here?
Live here.
In the next few years. My other brother, he just had a baby. He's 4 months old. These are questions that I ask
That you
myself.
want, yeah.
Because I was abroad. I came back because I felt a responsibility.
To here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that these two gentlemen would
Yeah.
want to come back
Yeah.
and live here.
And you can do things
Yeah.
around the world. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that we
yeah.
all have to be on the island. I'm
Yeah.
not
The
saying
world
that
is a
because
much
there
smaller
are,
place. Yeah.
there are connections to be had. There are exchanges to be made. But that sense of where we going and how we getting there and the role we all have to play in that progress, in that movement is something we all have to answer for ourselves.
Any question? And the real point there is all.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yes.
thank you. Thank you very much for sharing,
Thank you.
for going brave. Trinidadians don't really know what they want. There's a song in my heart, but that's okay. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.